Welcome back to Badlands Presents Draft Season. I am your host, Michael Meegan. Flying solo tonight, my guys Dan Essen and D.A. Osario are out, so I had to send the bat signal for one of the most respected opinions in the draft community. He is the host of the the NFL Draft Stock Exchange podcast, host on Badlands with our guy Joe Caparoso, as well as a draft contributor at NBC Sports, Connor Rogers. Connor. I feel like everyone on Jets Twitter values your opinion more than anyone. So, thank you for spending the time with us.
I don't know if that's a great thing or a really bad thing. No, I do appreciate it, though. It almost scares me because if I'm wrong, I feel like people are going to start to direct their Jets anger at me in the future. But, dude, of course, I love chopping it up with you. You're obviously a huge resource to the Badlands draft guide that every single year I think it's going to be able to scale down. It's like, the Jets trade all their picks because they're really good now, or the Jets don't need 80 things. They're just drafting for depth. We are painfully reminded how much the draft always matters to this organization. So for those sitting and wondering, me, Meegs, Greg, Dan, the draft guide goes on, and it just gets bigger and better every single year.
I feel like the Jets need a 300-person draft guide. So maybe they can't realize that a 6-player draft isn't tenable when you haven't made the playoffs since 2010. But, that's why they're never going to turn on you. Because
let me start by asking you a question.
Sure.
How frustrating is it how much time we spend on that draft guide? And then the Jets, with not a throwaway pick, a pick that could still matter, go out and draft the Zaire Barnes of the world, Bernard Converse. And you're like, I do this mostly for a living, the draft. I balance a lot of other things, but the thing that is my main job for the most part is the draft. I rank 300 players every year, and the Jets always find a way to take one in the top 240 picks that I don't have. It's remarkable.
I mean, I wish I could be shocked anymore, but
no, it's not.
That's the funniest Saturday morning afternoon. Do you think they're gonna take one? Think we're gonna get away scot free this year? I remember the draft. I think it was the 2022 draft where they stopped picking in the 4th round. They actually saved us from it, because if they took Max Mitchell, we're done, and we're okay, I guess we have all our players.
Right, and I know, and then they never take the guy. It feels like DeJuan Jones was on the board one year forever. It was this year, actually. What am I saying? It was this year. DeJuan Jones. It's man, they really need a depth tackle. He's got questions, but I can't believe he fell all the way here. And it's we're good. Although they did take Izzy this year. I have to give them that.
That's true.
We were screaming for Izzy. They did take him, and then instead of it almost reluctantly, because then they decided to just never play him. So
I remember when it was Izzy's season, and then he maybe took a month to get on the field because he couldn't pass protect. But
right,
just because the Jets are just chock full of pass protectors at running back. But
right, it was the running backs that were the problem with the pressure getting home. That was
exactly. Definitely wasn't the quarterbacks who were inviting it or the offensive linemen who couldn't hold up. Definitely the running backs. 100% agree. All right, so we'll start it off grading a mock draft. This one's from CBS Sports, which had the New York Jets taking LSU wide receiver Malik Nabers. I know from our conversations you love Malik Nabers.
I do.
I don't think he's going to be there at 10, but how would you feel if he was, and if the Jets were actually smart enough to take him?
So in the last big board I released, I had him as the 4th best player in the draft.
My 4th player in the draft, so we see that.
The only guys I had ahead of him, and these rankings changed because I got deeper on the tackle class, was Olu, Caleb, and Marvin Harrison Jr. And I have Alt as the top tackle now, so he'd be up there, and I'd probably have Fashanu behind Nabers. But anyway, it all stands the same. I mean, it's weird because the player, you need to evaluate. It was funny you bring this question up because I did this morning. Sometimes I go back and look at how I reacted to picks in real time, because I don't remember over the years. You do hundreds of these and you just kind of forget. And the one I watched this morning was Jordan Love, because now it's time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have millions of misses live on air. That one, though, I gave it a B+. But when you listen to what I say, I was going on how I love the player, love the fit. I was like, this is the spot that he could sit and work out of his bad habits and unlock his potential. But the reason I didn't give it an A+ had nothing to do with Jordan Love. It had everything to do with, man, the state of this team right now. I said, why didn't you go get a guy like Michael Pittman for Aaron Rodgers? So I was like, at least that guy, I didn't say Denzel Mims or something.
Yeah, it was like T. Higgins, good.
Right. I
Pittman
said Michael
good. Mims
Pittman.
bad. Laviska Chenault bad.
Right. So I said Pittman, and I mean it makes sense. They always should have done more for Rodgers, but
Mhm.
Love was a fun quarterback prospect.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people really
Especially in
really
the
liked.
20s for someone that talented to last. Like his
Right.
tools are just like top 10 tools, like just until you watch
Yes.
them play.
Good mental makeup, great tools, and they did it right. But anyways, drawing this all back to the question, I feel like that would be my reaction to Malik Neighbors. It
Mhm.
would be, I love this player. He's going to
Mhm.
be awesome on the Jets. He is going to be that creator that we've always hoped for, that also wins vertically and can create so much separation and is electric with the ball in his hands and all these great things. But you still have that ringing problem of the now. What does
Yep.
the offensive line look like? Because there's a world where maybe in the pro market, and this world is not likely to exist, that they form a good offensive line and can take Malik Neighbors. But realistically, when you just do the math, I don't know how they do that. I
No.
don't know, because there's no supply of tackles. There's just not.
No.
Tackles don't go to free agency. And then, okay, so say they spend all the money this year and they go figure out the interior. They cut Lakin and they sign 2 guards. We'll say Robert Hunt's one of them, and we'll say Lloyd Cushenberry, and then they move Tippmann to guard.
Mhm.
And then you have this awesome interior, which that's a like a Madden franchise simulation scenario I just said, but let's
Mhm.
pretend. So ABT's a tackle. You still don't have another tackle.
No.
So it's a weird one for me. I admittedly didn't read that mock draft and the explanation for it. And the Jets need a number 2 wide receiver just as
Yeah.
bad. But there's always a supply of pro wide receivers on free agency and trades. There's not with tackles. So I do agree with you. I don't think Neighbors makes it there. I think that if any of the big 3 make it, it would be a Dunze.
Mhm.
But you just do the quick run through. Say Chicago and Washington take quarterbacks. I'll even say, to make this easier, New England takes a quarterback. Arizona's taking a wide receiver. The Chargers could take a wide receiver. The Giants could take a wide receiver. The Titans probably take a tackle, but they could take a wide receiver. And then the Falcons and Bears could take a wide receiver. They probably
Yeah. The Falcons
don't.
the Falcons probably won't. The
Probably
Bears
won't.
should. Like
The Bears should.
if you look at their targets to Komet and DJ Moore and then to the non DJ Moore Komet wide receivers, it's Hades. It's bad, bad.
It's really bad,
Like
and
I
you're
think
going to
every
have a
Bears
new
fan wants
quarterback
Roma
there.
Dunze. Like
They do, and they should. I mean, that
yeah.
makes sense for me. So I guess the long way around the story is you won't find many bigger Malik Neighbors fans than me. The world where he's on the Jets, I put it more likely that one of Alt or Fashanu make it to
I
the
100%
Jets
agree
over
with you.
than Neighbors. I really do.
I
Yeah.
100% agree with you. I don't think he's going to fall here. I just think it's more like if you're taking League Neighbors at 10, it's because 2 or maybe 3 of the tackles are gone, and you're like, this is just too good a player to pass at a position that while you don't probably need as much help at as a tackle, it's probably the second biggest need on your team.
Right. That's exactly it.
Okay, so now we got a nice Discord question, and I love the Badlands Discord. I just great football conversations that are
It's
being
organized chaos.
had in there. Like I kind of love it. They're a little more. They're not as psycho as Jets Twitter, but they're freaky in their own way, and that's why I really appreciate them. And I feel like every year we talk about the Jets like trading down. Like, can they trade down?
Yeah.
Can they amass more picks? Like, I think Joe Douglas also put everyone's expectations too high because his first draft when he got the second round trade down. Like I think it was with Seattle, whoever came up, how they did. Like it was actually like a good one where like all the draft nerds like loved the value of it. And we're like, we got a trader GM. Like, look at this guy. He's going to do this every year.
Never again.
Unfortunately, that has not happened. But basically, the question was if Olu and Alt are gone, and like given our needs at tackle, instead of like going for like Fuaga from Oregon State, who I think is a logical like plug and play right tackle at the next level, is like what a lot of people are projecting him to be. How would you feel about trading back pretty far and like going into the 20s and then taking the offensive tackle, which like guard from Washington, I forget how to say his name.
Oh, Fontenot.
Yeah, Fontenot. You're taking someone like him, so you have like either you can put him inside and then AVT out to tackle, and then maybe start working him as a guard as a rookie and then pushing him out to tackle. So those are your 2 tackles going forward next year, and then being able to get that second round pick that you traded for Aaron Rodgers to target a wide receiver, maybe like Jalen Polk, another Washington guy, maybe A.D. Mitchell, a couple other players, and then if you can be able to get more capital, because I think the draft thing that everyone's looking at is, I think when the Steelers went and got Devin Bush, they got like a second and then like a third the Broncos got for trading back. I think that's the
10 to 20.
Yeah, I think that's like, I think the kind of like model you're looking for. So maybe you can pick up another like interior offensive lineman in round three. So I guess like I would love to like say like, hey, let's do this if the offer is there. But like, do you think there are players like that are like worth that? Like going back to 20 picks, do you think there's a drop off from like 10 on back, and like this is what you don't want to like miss the cliff, like the first round of a draft?
So dream scenario to me, and I always say if I ever got a job like this, I would love early, and it's late for Joe Douglas, but I guess it applies still, to have as many picks as I could accumulate
Mm-hmm.
to have shots at hitting. This is a good draft. It's a
Mm-hmm.
deep draft, and it's deep at the Jets' needs. It is deep on offensive linemen. It is deep on wide receiver. And I think when you look at after the blue chip talent, something you and I have talked about, right? Marv, I think both tackles, Fashanu and Alt,
Yeah.
Caleb Williams and Drake May.
This is a 6 player like blue chip class to me.
Yep. Neighbors and Bowers. That's 7.
Yeah,
After
Bowers.
that, it opens up, I
Mm-hmm.
think. So the Jets are outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody comes up now, why the Jets could actually do it this year? Because a lot of people are like, they never do. It's never there. I've heard already that Minnesota, Denver, and Las Vegas are in on the quarterback class, but don't know necessarily how, because 2 are going in the first 2 picks, maybe 3 go in the first 3 picks. So will they like Michael Penix, Bo Nix, or JJ McCarthy enough? And then will they like them enough that they have to get over each other, right? Does somebody have to get over Minnesota, Denver, whatever? The Jets are at 10, so they're actually in a spot where maybe that happens. I don't say it's likely, but I say it's possible. So when you factor all of that in, and also the Rams got to start thinking about a quarterback eventually. Stafford's awesome. He's amazing, but he gets really banged up. The point
You
is,
don't
it's
believe in
possible.
Stetson?
Yeah, Stetson Bennett the future. Seattle at
Greg,
16.
Greg Armstrong's favorite quarterback.
Is that right?
Oh, he loves Stetson. Loves Stetson.
Oh boy, I got to talk to Greg. So, I mean, so say they hypothetically did this, and we'll just say they got a late 2, I don't know, some kind of day 2 capital. Then the plan all makes sense, because the problem is, how do the Jets evaluate Fontenot and Fuaga? I see Fuaga as a true right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
There's already the whispers he might be a guard. I don't agree at all. And I've done this exercise where I've been, I think, a little more right than wrong, but it almost evens out on projections. I thought Slater was not a guard, and he's one of the best left tackles in football. That was nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I did think Jonah Williams was a tackle, and he's not been he had his best year, and ironically he's a free agent now, so keep that name in mind. But he's really struggled at tackle, although I don't know if he would have been much better at guard. He's just been a bad lineman in the league, unfortunately. And then you look at ABT.
Mm-hmm.
ABT, I thought was going to be a high caliber guard, but I always thought he could play tackle. And the Jets did everything they could to make sure he didn't play tackle until they had to. And then he was a good tackle. So I think the league has gotten a little too guard happy with good players. I think Fuaga's the right tackle. Fontenot is more interesting because he's played left tackle for Washington at a really high level. I've heard he has long arms, and he looks like he has long arms. He's just built a little stout where he kind of looks like a guard. But I think he's going to have the ABT path where a team's going to love to play him at guard, and they might have to play him at tackle. I have him as the 16th overall player in this draft, so I think he's amazing. He's not going to go 16th. So if you traded back and you took Fontenot and you got, I like you bringing up Polk in the second round. I think he's Chris Godwin-esque.
Yeah.
I like walking away with that draft a lot more than I just do, hey, at 10, we settled on Fuaga. I think a lot of people know how you and I both feel about taking Latham there. That's terrifying.
No. Yeah. Even like, and I'm worried about the Mims rise.
I think you're already there.
He's
just so big and gifted. He's 6'7", and he moves like a guy that's 6'2". Yeah. So there's a lot to like about Mims, but it's hard to sell the Jets on a total projection on the line. You can't.
Took one 4 years ago, and then the tackle that went right after him is now been an All-Pro at both tackle spots.
I mean, the Bucs are if people want to watch, like the Bucs are in the playoffs, and he's their best player, maybe. Yeah. I actually confidently think he's their best player.
Oh, on offense, it's not even close.
Right.
Yeah. Like, so defense,
that's
like Vita Vea is amazing. So I'll give him that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I said this is more the scenario where, like, if you can do it, execute it. But like I've been saying this on the pod, like if you're a Jets fan, you want JJ McCarthy, the winner, the culture changer buzz to start building because
Right.
because even if the Patriots don't take Daniels, he's not getting by the Giants,
He
and
shouldn't.
and
He
the
shouldn't.
Patriots will probably we'll see how they are run these days. There's probably a team that likes Daniels enough to take him at 3, and if they don't, they'll just move it.
I
Because
could
like,
see them getting a little, yeah, like
because like,
too cute.
I don't see them being like, yeah, your trade offers are great. We have like no talent on our roster. We're just gonna take Marv. Like, I just don't. Like, it's not smart to be honest with you. As much as I love Marv, like that team needs so much help. Like, what's Marv gonna do catching passes from Bailey Zappi?
I wonder what Marv's dad thinks of that.
Yeah,
It's
I
something
think.
nobody talks about, and he's not one of those dads that's, which is nice. It's really respectable. You don't hear from him and stuff like that.
No.
But these guys should be advising their
Yeah.
kids as they go to the NFL. They obviously are. I would want nothing to do with that situation.
If I think I think Marvin Harrison Sr. wants 3 quarterbacks go top 3, and his son gets to live in Arizona catching passes from Kyler Murray. Because that sounds like a pretty sweet
Dream.
life. Because like
Dream.
Gannon's a meme, but like that franchise kind of has their act together.
Yeah. Right. And it's just a matter of that they're capable.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a quarterback who can throw from you day one. And God forbid if you fold the 5, you get to play with Justin Herbert.
I mean, Marv in LA playing with Herbert. It's not going to happen, but it's awesome.
And that's what I want for Neighbors. Like for someone who's a big fan of him, I want to see him succeed like that.
Yeah,
but
it's a good fit.
Going back to our Polk discussion, because I know you really like him as a second round player. I'm not asking you who's the next Puka Nacua because if you can accurately pick out the 5th round wide receiver who's going to be an All Pro, you're probably going to get a real GM job and not just be able to play armchair with us. So who's a wide receiver like in like the rounds like picks like 70 to 150 that you could see having like a nice impact as like a mid-round wide receiver and then someone who can really start becoming a nice player year 2, year 3, year 4 as we see some of these guys start to blossom.
Man, maybe Jermaine Burton from Alabama.
Yeah.
He had a really good year, 800 yards, 8 touchdowns. He averaged over 20 yards per catch. He's got a little something to him that I like. And when I say that, I mean a little, it's just a spice, a little edge to his game.
You go from Georgia to Alabama, and you kind of got to have an attitude.
He has an attitude, and I think it's in a really good way. He'd be interesting for me outside the top 70. I think Jamari Thrash from Louisville is a late guy, a 4th rounder that he could just fucking fly. And
dude, he's awesome.
It just feels like the Jets never have someone where you're like, whoa, that guy moves differently. And when I say differently, I mean straight line. Garrett, I think, is very unique in the way he moves. Brees is very unique in the way he moves. But a wide receiver that is just straight gas over the top of the safeties. So Thrash would be a value guy for me. The problem is, Meegs, I mean, so many of these guys are just going to go.
Yeah.
Like Devontae Walker from UNC is a stud.
I was kind of hoping that waiver was going to get approved because like as much as fun as watching him play with Drake, like if you watched like his like tape before he got to UNC, you're like, no, this is like the Deontay Johnson Toledo like tape where you're like, he plays at like a level that you like, be like, this dude is so different, and you kind of get lost in his competition. But like those skills just translate. I'm so jaded from taking Florida guys because the Jets never have succeeded with them. But like I did like what Pearsall does. He just has no offense around him. But he's gonna go.
He should go.
He should be going.
He'd be there outside the top 70, I think. But
I hope so. But
maybe.
Also the Jets taking Johnny Wilson will probably be the end of me because that seems like this like.
A giant wide receiver that can't run.
Yes, and then who can't catch, and then Rodgers freezes out like literally like week 2. I don't know. Also, I mean like I don't really like the Michigan skill talent because like I think that's a thing with the evaluation with JJ is like they doesn't really have how much NFL guys really are, but like Roman Wilson ran away from Alabama. And like there's like an actual like gadgetness to him, and like if he gets like playing with an accurate quarterback, where you can actually like work him into the offense and be like kind of like Xavier Gibson on steroids.
I'm a fan of him. I think that he can. When you look at some of JJ's best throws outside the numbers, and they're to Roman Wilson. I mean, he could adjust. He could really find the ball. He's got pro hands in that regard. Like you said, he could move. He would be. I think my strategy if I was the Jets and they can't get any more picks, you probably got to go lineman rounds 1 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just start throwing darts at wide receivers because who's on this roster that you're like, well, we don't have the room. I mean, it's Garrett Wilson.
It's
they're gonna try it with Lazard.
Yeah, like Lazard can be like tight end 3, but like that's about it.
Right. I mean, I guess the bottom line is though they're gonna go get a pro number 2. Yeah. But man, right. As we do this today, it's easy to say that though.
Yeah, like if Pierce gets the Raiders job, I don't know if they're gonna be in a rush to trade him.
My take is it's not gonna be Adams this year, and I'll happily be wrong. And I haven't even asked anyone about this. This is just my feel.
Yeah.
I think it's not gonna be Adams.
I mean, the guy I want, and we'll see if the Colts is Pittman.
Right. And they're insane if they let him go. They're insane.
Exactly. Like, you have a rookie quarterback. Like, Ballard's been hoarding cap space since, like, the Reagan administration there. Like, you can easily pay him, but that's the guy that they should get.
He's the guy.